Well, good afternoon, everyone. I want to first of all thank all of you for taking time this afternoon to join us for this exciting forum on workforce development. And I am Roger Dale. My company is the Nadelson Dale Group. We are a consultant for the city of Modesto in the process of preparing an economic development strategic plan for the city. And I would like to briefly kind of introduce our program today and give an outline of what we'd like to cover. And we're going to primarily focus, though, on our excellent group of panelists that have been so generous in putting together presentations for us today. So we'll get to that shortly. I'd also like just to introduce my colleague, Alan Levinson, who's part of our team, and he'll be helping us today to kind of keep things moving and monitoring the chat and making sure that everyone who would like to speak gets an opportunity to do so.
Hi, everyone. Thanks.
One important note, the Zoom system automatically muted everyone who came in, and I'm not able to unmute you on our end. So especially for our panelists who will be coming up soon, you'll need to unmute yourself as you begin to speak. And then later when we get into a discussion with the full group, anyone else who would like to speak will need to unmute themselves. We'll also ask you to use the hand raise function in Zoom so we can make sure we recognize everyone who would like to participate. So again, I'd like to welcome everyone. I've introduced myself and my colleague, Alan Levinson. Also on the Zoom is Trevin Barber, who is the city's economic development manager. And I think Trevin's connected. Would you like to make actually, he's just connecting, so we'll let him join us in a moment. Just wanted to give a little bit of background on the economic development strategy. We are in the middle of a process that will take close to a year to put together a document that will outline a game plan, if you will, for the city of Modesto's economic development programming. And the forum that we're having today is part of a larger stakeholder engagement effort for the Economic Development Strategic Plan, or EDSP. We had a very productive kickoff meeting with a larger group of stakeholders in May. Some of you may have been participants in that, and that was a great start for informing our team on what the opportunities and some of the challenges are in Modesto. The forum that we're doing today is the first actually of 4 forums that we have selected experts from the local community to talk about specific topics. Today is, of course, workforce development. Next week, we're having a forum on entrepreneurial development. And then on August 28th and 29th, we're having a forum on state policies related to economic development. And then on the 29th, a forum on urban design and zoning issues that affect city-level economic development. We anticipate that the strategic plan itself will be finished towards the end of the year. And by virtue of your being here today, you are definitely part of our contact database for this project, and we will keep you in the loop as there are future opportunities for public engagement and also to review the documents and drafts of the work products as they come out. One of the things that's very important for the city's economic development strategy is it will very directly connect to a number of important regional initiatives that are happening at about the same time. And I know that many of you are familiar with those and probably have people on the panel today, as well as the larger audience who actually represent these other organizations. We'll have a chance to hear perhaps today about some of those as they relate specifically to economic development, but just wanted to emphasize that this process in general is looking at ways that the city can better connect to those regional initiatives, better leverage the investment that's happening at the regional level, and specifically focus those opportunities at the city of Modesto level. So I want to again thank you for being here today, and I'm going to give a special thanks in a moment to our panelists. But it's really an important opportunity for a range of stakeholders to be involved in an exciting time in the city's economic development program, and we would really encourage you to stay connected. I've got in fact, a QR code on the screen if you want to take that down on your phones. That if you've not already done so, and many of you probably have, this is how you got notified of this meeting, but this is just a way to be on the distribution list for all future notifications about the Economic Development Strategic Plan, future meetings, and other opportunities to provide input. So I'd now like to acknowledge a wonderful group of panelists who have very generously offered to be part of this program today. And we sat down many weeks ago with the city staff to identify a range of experts related to each of these forum topics that we're having meetings for. And we reached out to a group of people and were just overwhelmed with the response of interest and willingness to participate. I'm going to briefly introduce them now, and each of these panelists is going to provide maybe about a 10-minute presentation related to their organization's efforts in workforce development and how they may relate to the city. And we will then have an opportunity to maybe have follow-up questions with the panelists after all six of them have had their presentations. And then we've got a set of discussion questions we'd like to throw out to the group to kind of engage further in thinking about how the city of Modesto can really be a better partner in workforce development and how that can help to boost the city's economic development potentials within this strategic plan. So a major thank you to our panelists, and just like to mention who they are. So starting at the top of the screen, we've got Dr. Aubrey Priest, who is the Executive Director for of Innovation and Workforce Development at the Innovation and Workforce Development Hub at Cal State Stanislaus. Very excited that Dr. Priest is with us this afternoon. Also excited to have Doris Foster, who is the County of Stanislaus's Director of the Workforce Development Department, and will be our first panelist, actually, our presenter actually this afternoon, and kind of give us an overview of the big picture of workforce development in Stanislaus County. We've got a couple of representatives from private sector organizations that are involved in very important and innovative training activities. Philip Land from the president of Bay Valley Tech, as well as Damon Fugit who is the school director from DeHart Technical School. Also in the realm of education, we're going to look at both levels. We've got the representing the Modesto City Schools, Rochelle Barkas, who is the Senior Director of ED Operations, and I think it's for CTE programs. So very excited to have her participation today. And then also the president of Modesto Junior College, Brian Sanders. Our first panelist is Doris Foster, and as I mentioned, she's the Director of Workforce Development for Stanislaus County. And Doris, if you're ready, I'll ask you to unmute yourself, and I'm going to advance to your first slide, and you can let me know as you're ready to proceed through the deck.
Great. Thank you very much. And it is just a privilege to be here today and to showcase some of our initiatives that are most relevant to the City of Modesto's economic development effort. Really appreciated the introduction and excited to be part of the new strategic plan. On the next slide, that is our mission statement. So we work with businesses. We have a really robust businesses services team. It encompasses about 18 employees, and what they are in constant communication with businesses and in Modesto, and to understand what really their needs are. Once we've determined what a business's need is, we then try and scale up individuals to meet those needs. And in turn, it really contributes to the economic success of our community. And in the next slides, I'm going to dig in a little bit more. So as we now take a look at who is the city of Modesto when we're talking about businesses. So we have 8,622 businesses as of actually a couple of days ago. And of that, 78,972 employees, which will probably be no surprise to anyone who's on here, is that the majority of businesses, the 80% is with employees of 1 to 9. What's been really interesting, and I will admit I do like statistics and I like to look at a lot of analysis work. What was really interesting, if you looked at this picture a year ago, you would have saw a higher number in businesses with 1 to 9 employees, and you would have saw considerably lower businesses with just 0 employees. I believe a year ago we had 9. So we have in the city of Modesto, there's been a lot more businesses that have come about that are smaller, that are starting up, which really tells us as an organization, it's time to really focus on some of those smaller businesses and see what their needs are. In the next slide, you'll see what we start doing is we look at the financial health of businesses in our community. This is probably one of my favorite things to look at. And so how to read this is low means that they're low financial stress. These businesses, 4,400, have successful businesses. They're making a lot of profit. They're doing financially well. They've stormed through some of the COVID concerns that we've had. They come out on the other end. The medium, they're doing well and they're fine. The high ones, the stress score, are the ones that we really focus on as well. The ones that are high are the one of those 70 businesses are the ones that are in a position of potentially closing their doors. They're financially struggling. We really take a point of reaching out to these businesses and seeing what we can do to save the 814 employees. Either A, help them get a different positions, but also more importantly, how do we help those 70 businesses to become successful and move forward? Classified is just businesses that are government businesses, and we don't look at their financial health of that. On the
Hey,
next,
Roger, we have some people in the waiting room.
Thank you. And I apologize, the slide went down. I'll get that back up and we'll.
Sorry,
make sure-
Doris. Thank you.
no,
Thank you so
You're
much
fine.
for keeping us on track.
So while we're letting everyone in, I'll just continue talking a little bit about looking at businesses that are the greatest need. That doesn't mean we don't, if you could go to the next slide, that doesn't mean we don't serve businesses that are large or that have a low stress factor. We do, but our service to those businesses are very different. So let's take a look at what we saw here in our community. Last year, we saw 650 people that were laid off by 12 businesses. And then we see 12 businesses again this current last fiscal year, but we see a larger increase of employees. When we dig in and see what was going on here in Modesto and in our community, we're seeing that smaller businesses last year were doing layoffs, larger businesses are doing layoffs with larger amount of employees. So for example, last year we saw like Nestle Foods, they laid off 65. This year we're seeing larger businesses like Rizzo Lopez Foods, they had over 300 employees. So we really try and do a connection with these businesses. So we have businesses who are looking for people and we have businesses who are laying off, and we really try and do a connection between those two businesses. What we're starting to see is not as many businesses who are looking for employees. We're not seeing that easy transition of our dislocated workers is what we call people who have been laid off. We're not seeing that easy transition to businesses who are looking. So moving forward on the next couple of slides, we're going to talk about our services. So the first slide is along the lines of what we talked about was layoff aversion. This is when we actually go out to businesses, we meet with employees, we set up a table, we help them if they need additional assistance with resume writing or any type of workshop, we bring them within our department and we really help them get what they need in order to be successful and get employed. The other big thing, if you turn it to the next slide, is our sector partnership and strategies. This is a collaboration between the businesses and workforce development, community partners, and education. The goal is for us to identify strategies and meet business needs. An example is we have our 5-sector strategy. One example is our ag business sector strategy. We have about 4 businesses that come to that, and we ask them, what are your greatest needs? They identified that they really need a lot of supervisory assistance with their employees. So what's really exciting is we were able to create some training. We put through 4 different cohorts. We pay for all the training, and we get those individuals trained up. And so that when they go back to work, they know how and the expectations of being a supervisor. We have a really good healthcare sector strategy. In agriculture one, we are working on our manufacturing and we're starting to get ready to do our construction one. And we are looking for someone to assist for our underserved businesses. So we will be going out for a request for proposal in the next 2 days to find someone who'd be interested in coming along and contracting with us to help serve some of those businesses in our community. On our next slide, we'll talk about labor market information. We have a labor market analyst on staff, and what he does is he works with businesses to provide wage data, talks to businesses who are at risk. So a business who is at risk in our community could come along and say, we're just seeing a high turnover. What are other businesses in Modesto? What are they paying for the exact same positions? He'll be able to do a dive into that. The other thing that we do that's very helpful is if any business is interested in moving to Modesto, we will meet with that business, share with them what the skill looks like for those individuals that they may be interested in hiring. We also start talking to them about how we can come along and financially assist them. So our labor market analyst, he is full-time and he is extremely busy putting together different strategic needs for different employers within our community. On the next slide, we
Ms.
talk
Foster,
about,
just want to remind you, we're about 9 minutes right now. Just give you a general reminder on that.
thank you. Then
Yeah.
I will talk a little faster.
Okay.
So the next thing is we meet with businesses and we talk about different services that we provide. One of my favorite programs is the first one on there, and you went back. If you could go forward again on the slide. Thank you. The very first one is our HR hotline. That one is where we have attorneys on the other end of the line who give legal advice to businesses on any of their HR needs. The next 3 slides I will go through quickly, and the first one is on our on-the-job training. So this is where a business may need to bring somebody in, but they don't have the skills needed. We come alongside those businesses and we help pay for the wages up to 75% during that training period. The next slide talks about our incumbent worker training, in which we work with businesses in our community and we skill up individuals. So instead of a business laying somebody off, what they're able to do is skill them up so that they can move and promote into higher level positions. The next slide is on our work experience services. This is where we are the employer of record, and we help a lot of our clients work with different businesses to order to obtain technical and soft skills in order to be successful when they start looking. A lot of times employers will pick them up and hire them permanently. And if not, we will continue to look for them for different employment using our work experience, our incumbent worker training, and even we have an apprenticeship training. So if we go to the next slide, the next slide is our programs. And this is just a high level overview. And I know it's kind of light. And this is an overview of all of our programs within Stanislaus County. So we have $31 million that we push out into our community with services as well as training opportunities. Our largest being our welfare to work. And then we have a federal programs in which we work with our Innovation Opportunity Act. And many of our other programs help previously incarcerated, non-custodial parents, youth, and as we talked about earlier, in dislocated worker. That is a quick 10-minute snapshot of our services in Stanislaus County. I could talk for an hour, probably the 2 hours, but I want to make sure I give my other panel members an opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much, Doris. That was an excellent presentation and wonderful work that your county department is doing. Okay, we will move on to our next panelist. It's Rochelle Barkas. As I've mentioned, she's with Modesto City Schools. And Rochelle, if you'd like to unmute yourself and begin your presentation, that would be great.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Barkas, and I'm the Senior Director of Educational Options for Modesto City Schools. My department oversees a number of different areas, but for today's purposes, we will talk about career technical education. I do want to thank you for inviting me. A lot of times education gets left out of these types of conversations, and so I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share what we have going on in Modesto City Schools and ways that we can continue to partner and build up the workforce within our own students. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide. So within Modesto City Schools, we have a number of CTE industry sectors, so career technical education industry sectors. And some of these are going to sound familiar because Doris mentioned healthcare sector, manufacturing, agriculture, and we have some of those programs within Modesto City Schools. When we choose to implement a new program, we do look at the occupational outlook to determine whether or not there are going to be jobs available for the students in the near future. So these are all of the different programs we have. We have ag, arts, media, and entertainment, which incorporates video, photography, and performing arts. We have building and construction trades. They're all doing residential building, business and finance. Our education programs, we have three. One is brand new over at Johansson High School. We have energy and environment utilities. We have cosmetology, health science, and so on and so forth. You can see all of those there. I don't need to read them all. So ready for the next slide. Okay, and on to the next one. There we go. Oh.
Is that good?
Nope, the one before.
Is that
Thank
good?
you.
You bet.
Yes. Okay, so just to give you an overview of what this looks like in Modesto City, we do have 80 teachers that teach some sort of a CTE class. We have 4 career navigators, and our navigators are split amongst the high schools, and they help with placement for internships and some business partnerships that we develop throughout the year. They also help with enrollment into NJC for our dual enrollment opportunities. We have 8 work experience teachers, and those teachers work directly with students on developing 21st century skills, soft skills, their work permits, all of those sorts of things. They also help with facilitating field trips to Occupational Olympics or to other county events that might be available for students to be exposed to different workforce development that's happening within our city. We do have STEM or STEAM pathways at every single one of our sites. So we will always have some sort of computer science or arts, media, and entertainment that utilizes computers. We have cybersecurity and web development, all sorts of things. We have 30 unique pathways within the district, and that probably doesn't mean a whole lot to this group here, but basically we have duplicate pathways at some of the high schools. So for example, we have ag at every single one of our high schools. So that would not be, we wouldn't count every single one of those as a pathway, but we do have 30 unique pathways, and we represent 12 of the industry sectors. Our enrollment has been going up over the last few years. As you can see, this last year we had over 9,000 students enrolled in a CTE class. There's a number of reasons for that. One is that we have more CTE teachers. We have secured additional funding sources to promote our CTE programs. And I think just overall engagement, providing those internships, getting them exposed to what we have within our community has assisted with those numbers increasing. Additionally, we do offer over 30 certifications. So our students do, some of them will get OSHA 10 certified. We have CompTIA certifications, food handlers certifications, CPR, first aid, all those sorts of things. But we have over 30 that students can graduate with. CNA, certified nursing assistants, we do have students that can graduate with that. And then we have over 800 work-based learning opportunities, meaning that our students are going out into the community, whether doing a job shadowing experience or actually working alongside as an intern. In particular, at Enox High School, our students that are in computer science work in both Sylvan Unified School District and Modesto City Schools. And they work in the tech department to get those hands-on training and work experience. Okay, next slide. This slide is just an example of all of the different industry sectors and pathways. This particular slide, the graphics are from the state of California. So if you go to the CDE website, California Department of Education website, and look up CTE, this is what you would see. What we did is we just incorporated the programs that we have just for a visual for people to see. Next slide. So this particular slide, we have really worked on marketing in the last couple of years. And so this video highlight was actually completed by our students in our arts, media, and entertainment sector. So you would be, when you get a chance, take a look at it, and you can see the work that our students are able to do. They're very talented students, and this is just one example of their work. And in addition, it does show you just overall what our programming looks like. Next
And I'll
slide.
give everyone a second if they want to take a picture of that QR code so that you can get to those videos.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll also put that link in the chat.
So as I shared earlier, we've really been working on marketing and outreach. When I started in this position a few years ago, it was said that our CTE programs are the best kept secret. And you know, we don't want this to be a secret. We want to figure out ways to engage with our community. We also want to figure out ways that our students have pipelines to jobs or pipelines to college, and that they stay within our community since we're growing them here. So we do have a new website. I encourage you to take a look at that at some point if you have the opportunity. We have videos for every single one of our high schools. So the link that was there, that one is for our overall CTE video. But on our Modesto City Schools website, we have individual videos for every single one of our high schools. We do have a newsletter that we share with educational partners and all of our MCS family. So staff, parents, students, and we do that once a month to share what's going on, to share, to promote different programs and different activities that our students are involved in. We also have developed a number of marketing materials. So we have t-shirts, catalogs, brochures, all those sorts of things. And then I have been seeking opportunities to speak at various organizational meetings to just share what we have. So I speak at SPI. I've spoken at SPI. I'm a member of SPI, at Rotary clubs, and actually we're forging a partnership with the Downtown Rotary this year, parent groups, so on and so forth. We do present at the farmers market. We have a booth to pass out some of our materials to once again bring awareness of what we have and hopefully connect. We do career fairs, and then of course just our general representation at open houses, back to school nights, and those sorts of activities. Next slide. Some of the CTE community partnerships that we do have representation in, just so everybody knows, we do try to connect with all the different partners within the city of Modesto, so that we can provide those opportunities for our students. So Stand 2030, we're a part of that. The K-16 Collaborative, which I saw McKenna on here earlier. Stanislaus Partners in Education, we're on a number of committees for Chamber of Commerce. We partner with Modesto Junior College, trade and union organizations. We are bringing more of them in to showcase what they have available. We did a trades night in the spring for our students who were probably not planning on going to college, just to see what's out there for them to get some additional training or jobs here within Modesto. We have Health Force Partners, Stand Careers, we're on workforce development committees, and then Stanislaus Motherlode CTE Board of Directors. And if any of you on this call want us to come and be a part of your organization, or have some opportunity to talk about what we have to offer or ways we can partner, I'm always happy to have those conversations. So this, over the last year or so, these are some of the ways that we've expanded and enhanced our programs. And again, this is based on occupational outlooks and other feedback that we receive. So our internships, we are always seeking additional internships, whether they're internal or external. And on here, it talks about a program called CAPS, Climate Action Pathway for Schools. And that was a new partnership that we had, where we actually had paid internships for our students to work on sustainability plans within our district. So they analyzed information and they were paid to do so. But we're always looking for those opportunities. We're continuing our marketing campaign. We're starting to go down into middle school, because it's never early enough to start exposing our students to what's available to them as they dream big and what they want to do with their lives and what they want to be. So we're starting a middle school will course. At Modesto High, we have a new green engine automotive pathway with a brand new teacher who's really excited to be there. We're going to be starting a sports medicine physical therapy pathway at Davis High School. We know there's a huge need for healthcare training within our community, and so we're starting that. We have Educators Rising at Modesto High, and then we're starting to build a shop at Elliott. So if any of you are driving down Orangeburg and Sunrise, you'll see that there's been some construction done at Elliott, and that's going to be a shop for construction, and solar panel installation certification is what we're looking at putting there. And then of course we are continuing to develop our dual enrollment CTE courses with MJC. And that is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much for your time. And I'm happy to answer any questions later on if you have any, or feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And I apologize for not saying your name correctly earlier, but we'll get it right now.
I am totally used to it, so no problem at all.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up, we have Dr. Brian Sanders, president of Modesto Junior College. And Brian, if you'd like to unmute yourself and jump in on your presentation, that would be great.
Absolutely. So it's great to see Rachel again, and to work with some of the other folks that we work with, Doris, and been meeting with Phil Land about ways to partner together in our community. Today, I want to talk about Modesto Junior College and really the spectrum of opportunities that we offer, because we are the adult education provider for our region. We educate adult learners as our primary specialty. Of course, with Rachel, we've been super expanding our dual enrollment in the high schools and taking our training, including CTE training, down to high school students, but it's still college level work and designed for adult learners. So we can see this little spectrum of contract education, not-for-credit programs, short-term vocational training, career technical education certificates and degrees, some of our transfer programs. And I see Aubrey on the line if we're going to be transferring to CSU Stanislaus and other universities, and then some new things that are in development, and give you just a little bit of a snippet of what those would be. So next slide, you're going to see contract education. The concept of contract education is that each individual agency has a training need. You name it, we're going to provide training on that. It's very, very flexible. It's led by our workforce development department. And some of my colleagues from workforce development are on the line, Richard Carnes and Guadalupe Sanchez, and they're going to drop into the chat some contact information in case you're interested in any of the things that I'm talking about today. But our idea is that we will educate and train people towards whatever it is that the workforce needs. Partnering with Doris, she helps us identify some people who are in need of a training or employees of a company. The partner business or agency and the trainee themselves are both really our clients. Our goal is helping our students meet their goals, and their goals are trying to advance their lives. Very, very flexible and portable. And we provide this concierge service through our contract ed department, where once your business is online with what we're doing, we're going to help every step of the way so that it's very seamless for your employees to go through our training programs. They have to do all the work and pass the test, but we want to make all the other stuff easy. Next slide, please. As we go from contract ed, we've got this collection of not-for-credit programs. So these are things that are not going to go on a student's transcript, but they lead towards certifications that are immediately relevant to the community and to their careers. We've got a phlebotomy tech program, a pharmacy technician program. We're partnering with Stanislaus County Office of Education out in Empire at the dental assisting program that we've resurrected. And we have the culinary arts program we're doing with the adult Series Adult School. So these great ways to partner in our community, help people get these jobs that are out there and are growing. Next slide. I think you skipped one there for me. Some of the partnership examples, Rachel was just talking, you can see a couple of specific partnerships that we have with Modesto City Schools on the screen, Stanislaus County Office of Education. We're working with them to grow child development training as part of STAN 2030 to help more people open home childcare facilities to help serve our needs. All sorts of businesses that we partner with, and you'll see some of those on the next page. And then, of course, working with our workforce development, we're on the eligible training provider list. So when Doris's operation identifies folks needing some training because of their being displaced or they're unemployed, we're one of the providers that's going to work directly with her to help people get the next training that they need. On the next slide, you're going to see some of our, one of our specific programs, this apprenticeship program, this joint apprenticeship program. Look at the firms that are on there and look at the fields that are shown on the left of electrical maintenance, machinery maintenance. If you're looking for, with your agency, your company, to get some of your folks upskilled in specific areas, then you want to contact Modesto Junior College, and we'll find a spot for them in our apprenticeship program and help them work through the trainings they need for whatever's next for them. On the next slide, you're going to start to see some of this next area, short-term vocational non-credit. So I mentioned earlier, we have not-for-credit courses. These are things that students do and lead towards certification, but they don't go on their transcript. Non-credit courses do go on their transcript. They just don't have, 3 units of credit. That's a 0-unit credit class, but it's something that the institution recognizes its state-approved curriculum, and so it has a greater lasting value. Right now, it's an area of growth for Modesto Junior College. If you go to San Diego, if you go to the east side of Los Angeles County, if you go to Orange County, you'll see massive programs in non-credit vocational training. And that's something that Modesto Junior College needs to grow because it's very adaptable and portable and can go across town to you. And it meets, it's very proximal to work. It can be all sorts of different lengths. It's not as rigid as credit curriculum. So this is something, bridging the gap. This is something our college is working on. Next slide. After we get beyond the gap, we get into really the area of greatest strength for Modesto Junior College, and that is our traditional core educational programs. On the screen, you can see Rachel mentioned the secret, the CTE secret in some of the high schools. It's sort of the same here. Many of you may not know we have all of these and 2 or 3 or 4 times as many subjects that we're training in, direct career training certificates at the college, and students coming out with a certificate in veterinary technology. We've got a drone technician program. We've got EMTs and firefighters that are going directly to work upon completing our classes. We also have things like technical theater. And you might think, well, there's not a lot of jobs in technical theater in Modesto, and that's true, but it's a subset of our overall theater program, which transfers to universities. And we have a good friend of mine, their daughter is now finished at UNLV with her bachelor's degree in technical theater and working in Vegas for one of the big theaters down there as well. So you can see a variety of things, everything from the medical assistants working in the hospitals and the doctor's offices that you're going to. And then my favorite, maybe the artificial insemination technician, because there's not that many community colleges that have that particular program. Next screen. University graduates, by the way, that's cows and pigs and stuff. It's not humans, just to be clear. The university graduates, so if you look at the history of Modesto Junior College, we were grounded as a transfer institution in the 1950s. As late as the 1950s, our catalog had the courses from UC Berkeley listed in our catalog itself. It was thought of ourselves as the first 2 years of university, and we're still that, but we're in a much broader variety. We transfer students all over the state and all over the nation. We have associate degrees for transfer in a whole variety of subjects, and you can see those on the screen. And if you think about these as economic development, workforce development, it's a staggered thing. We have some folks who come to us and want to go directly to university. And there's other folks who get a job in the community and upskill once or twice. And then they want to get that advanced degree and get a bachelor's degree in a subject. And Modesto Junior College is always going to be there as the institution of higher learning that they can pass through and get the foundations to get prepared for university, wherever that's going to be. Lastly, I want to give you a couple of additional things. There's first of all, we have right now 1 bachelor's degree at Modesto Junior College. Not sure if everyone's aware of that, but we offer a bachelor's degree in respiratory care. It's an upper division general education program with some specialized coursework in respiratory care, and someone comes out with that bachelor's degree and they're getting employment. People come to us from all over the state for that, but it raises the question about what's next. Community colleges are now able to offer baccalaureate degrees, and we're asking questions like, would it be in healthcare? Would the next one be in public safety leadership? Is it something in agriculture? Is there something related to Stanislaus 2030 where we as an area workforce development need to be supporting industrial automation and advanced manufacturing? We don't know the answer to that, but we are working on different options there. So lastly, I want to talk to you about a program that's just in development. We see that we have, for instance, public safety workers. You got one of our firefighters from town on the screen. We've got deputies. They're trying to advance to the next rank, and there's educational links to that, right? If you want to be a sergeant, what if you need to have an associate degree to be the sergeant? Well, it's very hard for an active public safety worker to come to class Monday through Thursday from 8:30 till noon, right? So what if we have a customized program here that 8-week sessions going with 2 classes apiece, tracks for police officers, EMS, and fire, and help folks advance their careers through a very flexible program. 2 more slides. I got one that shows something that's upcoming this summer or this fall that I wanted to invite you to and invite the women in your world to. We have our Women's Empowerment Camp that we're co-leading with Modesto Fire to try to create more firefighters that look like the one in the picture there, which we're in desperate need of in Modesto. October 5th, young women aged 14 to 21 are invited, and you can see the address on the screen. And I'll try to drop that in the chat in a minute. And then lastly, this is us. And I want to stop here and just focus for a second, because there's a group of students. Each one of those students is a person. Each of these people has goals and dreams for their life. And our job at Modesto Junior College is to help each one of them figure out how to get towards the goals that they're trying to achieve. Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanders. Really exciting stuff to hear about. Our next panelist is Dr. Aubrey Priest, and he's got a long title, but it's exciting, so I'll mention it. He's Executive Director of Innovation and Workforce Development at the Innovation and Workforce Development Hub at Cal State Stanislaus. Dr. Priest, we're ready for you if you'd like to begin.
Yes, I am ready. Thank you very much, everyone, for having me here today. We're really excited to talk to you about some of the great things that we're doing both on campus, and then also some of the amazing things that we're doing or looking to do off campus as well. One thing that I did not mention is that I work with Doris. I am the vice chair of the Workforce Development Committee with Stan County. So I'm really excited about that and some of the amazing work that is currently ongoing there. The work that I oversee with the Innovation and Workforce Development Hub is what we do is we're part of the professional development team. We customize and develop programs for industry. We work to upskill existing workforce as well as develop innovative solutions to help keep employees satisfied in their role, or if employees are interested in increasing their pay, or they want to ladder up into the work that they're currently doing, or maybe seek opportunities outside the work. We're here to support industry in the development of training modules to help their workforce. And also one thing that we're really excited about is some of the work that we're doing in terms of, I believe we skipped ahead maybe a little bit, one slide or so. Yeah. That's just the title page there. But I wanted to speak specifically about the circular economy and some of the amazing things that we're doing in that area. We've partnered with an organization known as Beam. One of the common threads that we've heard is Stand 2030, which I think, and I'm really excited to see that everybody that's been on the panel thus far has made mention of Stand 2030. It is really central to the efforts that are currently ongoing with the university. And so we're very happy within workforce development to take part in that. One thing that is really important to us is how do we develop a more sustainable region? And it's really important for us to ensure that the circular economy promotes sustainable development by reducing waste, by preserving resources and minimizing environmental impact. The circular economy is contributing to achieving regional sustainability goals and transition to low carbon economy. We want to make sure that we're able to, in support of the circular economy, foster innovation, job creation, and economic growth. And in the design of products and design of packaging for those products, we're designing out the waste and the pollution for the region. And then also we're able to use these products over and over once the original life cycle for that product has been passed. And by recycling and reusing products and remanufacturing existing products, we're able to regenerate our natural resources and reduce the amount of raw materials, the finite raw materials that we're actively using. If you look at the model to the right, one thing that I want to draw your attention to is production. And so in the region, we're heavily involved in the production of products and in packaging and logistics. And so it's important for us to be hyper cognizant about how we are transitioning toward a more sustainable model. And we as a university want to partner with industry in that effort. And if we can help in collaboration with industry, design educational models that can help companies become more sustainable, or their employees to become more sustainable, or develop models that can help ensure sustainability, we are certainly willing to do that. And so we're excited about this. We have partnered with a number of organizations in the region as part of the Stand 2030 and this larger Beam consortia, this CBIO consortium. And so we're really excited about that. Next slide. Supporting Stanislaus County. So we're also looking specifically at, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. We're also looking specifically at how we can develop a sustainable workforce development model right here in Stanislaus County. Naturally, CSU Stanislaus, we oversee the 6-county region, but we are also hyper-focused on what we can do to support Stanislaus County. We're focusing on the circular economy, developing circular economy skills, developing programs that support current regional efforts with the implementation of sustainable initiatives that could help not only strengthen current employee skills, as I mentioned, but also create in-demand employment opportunities, supporting anchor industries in the region. As we've learned, there are some sectors, particularly in advanced manufacturing, that have hit a bump in the road. And so what we want to do is be forward-thinking and looking at the circular economy as an opportunity for us to increase in-demand opportunities in the sustainability spaces in the region. Next, we look at collaboration with industries and organizations. Stan State is engaging industries focused on growth with an eye towards sustainability, collaborating and developing industry-focused training modules and opportunities for specialized programs. And then also integration of circular economy principles, integrating sustainable principles as part of the educational curricula, ensuring a holistic understanding of application of sustainable and equitable practices. And the integration of these practices by design will help support multiple industries. Next slide. So when we look at our landscape and we look at all of the opportunities that are available in the area, this is by no means an exhaustive list. But some of the things that I have seen or we have talked to stakeholders around and engaged in meetings, and we've had some very fruitful dialogue about some of the things that we can do together. We are looking at either in partnership or we're having or we would like to see more engagement in some of these areas. We have seen a lot of enthusiasm around circular design challenges, virtual reality simulations, interdisciplinary courses, and that is where we're taking courses that may not necessarily appear to align, but once you add the sustainability element, there is a nexus. And so doing much more of that on campus. One key area is industry partnerships. It's important that we convey that everything that we do within professional development within CAPE is industry-led, is community-driven. And so we look to industry to help support the development of or at least bring forward some of these ideas, and we sit down with them and we have a conversation about how we can develop customized programs and modules to help support their businesses or support nonprofit organizations, or working with universities in the region, working with community colleges in the region. As Brian mentioned, the natural progression for their students over at MJC is to come over to CSU Stan, and we're very excited about that. But doing much more with MJC and other institutions of higher education in the region. Also, circular economy incubators. We have a fab lab on campus, and they're doing some amazing work, which we're really excited about. Next is gamification. We're really excited about the prospect of developing games or software around the circular economy and sustainability, and how that can play a key role in helping to support businesses as they make that transition towards sustainability. Community circular initiatives is also something that we're really excited about, and we see taking shape in the region as well. And one area here at the bottom, generative AI, I not only italicized it, but I put a little asterisk. There's been a lot of discussion. I've had the pleasure of attending a number of different conferences, and AI is literally on tip of everybody's tongue. Everybody's talking about AI. Everybody's, for better or for worse, it's going to take our jobs, it's going to benefit our jobs. But one thing that we are certain of here at Stan and universities, I think in general, as well as the industries that are around us, is that AI is here to stay. And so what we're looking at is what can we do together to develop generative AI models that really help to bolster our workforce in the region, as opposed to reducing our workforce and automating some of these jobs. We would certainly like to use AI to our benefit in Stanislaus County.
Oh, and Dr. Priest, we're just about at the 10-minute mark, so I think you're on your last slide though too, so that's perfect.
Okay, awesome. And so emerging opportunities in the circular economy. So the things that we're looking at specifically in the area and things that we are looking to do is connect with professional development for pre-service and K-12 educators, inclusive regional innovation and capacity, emphasizing equitable programming to support STEM education. It's no secret that there are a lot of folks that are on the margins that do not have access to equitable programming and education. And so we like to be at the forefront or support organizations and institutions that are heavily involved in these areas, and to encourage more involvement in STEM and sustainability measures, support initiatives in education connected to innovation, sustainability, and the circular bioeconomy, and facilitating awareness of career pathways in the bioeconomy. And I'll end with this, developing new certifications and degree programs. Finally, ensuring that these efforts are to the direct benefit of Stanislaus County and advance community prosperity. That is something that is central to the work that we do, and we know that that's the case for the community as well. Next slide.
Thank you so much, Dr. Priest. And
Yeah.
I also want to echo your making mention of some initiatives, Stanislaus 2030, as well as Beam Circular, which, as I mentioned, I didn't name them by name, but these types of regional initiatives are very much a focal point of the city's economic development program, and the two you mentioned in particular, we know that the city is very excited about, and so appreciate making that connection here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Damon Fugit from DeHart Technical School. He is the school director. Damon, we're ready for you if you want to unmute and begin your presentation.
Hello, my name is Damon Fugit. I am the director here at DeHart Technical School, and same as Rachel, I'm used to everybody getting my name wrong. Happens all the time. Thank you very much for the invite here today. After the first four panelists, I think I'm going to shift gears a little bit from some of the slides I sent you guys, Roger. I think we look more like a use case, a very specific use case. You know, we work with workforce development. We work with Modesto City Schools. We work with MJC sometimes with dual enrolled students. But really, DeHart Technical School is specifically an HVAC, refrigeration, plumbing, mechanical services, sometimes electrical services, training program that exists within what the parent company provides as a service. So it makes us kind of like a hyper real training environment that's attached to a legitimate business here in the city of Modesto. Began very, very small about 15 years ago with 10 students. We've grown pretty dramatically over the last 5 or 6 years. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the reasons for that. But when I look at what we're doing and why we created the school, how it's growing, and the growth that we're seeing, not just within Stanislaus, but specifically within Modesto, again, it makes us look more like a use case. And one of the primary reasons for that is our sector, which is HVAC, mechanical workers, refrigeration technicians, is retiring more people than we are actually putting back into the economy itself. It means we're having to pay more to bring people in from other counties and other areas. It means we're not producing those people at a high enough rate here within our own educational system. And it means it's also rapidly driving up wages, benefits, and opportunities for those technicians who can do this work. And I think it's really important to remember that, when we were looking back on this in 2019 and 2020, and certainly with the workforce development report that came out in 2021, we're still seeing the same kinds of industries, and Doris highlighted this earlier. We're led by healthcare, we're led by the government. And then after that, it really breaks down into agriculture, retail, manufacturing, construction, warehousing, delivery, pretty quickly after that. And what we can see very clearly when we look at this is that outside of the managers and outside of the owners, most of those people have pretty low wage jobs. They're really going to be in something that doesn't qualify as a living wage. And in Stanislaus, we've bookmarked that somewhere around $45,000 to $50,000 for a single person, somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000 for a family of two with a single child. And when we look at the annual mean wage of most of the people that are beginning in this, so in the first 5 years or so, in the HVAC or mechanical trades industry, they're really sitting at a little over $67,000 in this area. So we've really kind of sprung on that as kind of a point of distinction. And really, as we know that we're going to be bringing more warehouses, more delivery people in to this area, we need to be able to provide opportunities that represent somewhat of a step up. So maybe some of the people have something different to do and a second career in many cases. And next slide, if you would. So when we look at the overall statistics, we know, and these are U.S. Department of Labor and Statistics in California in specific, we know there's going to be about a $10 billion increase in the state of California by 2030. We know that we're going to be adding a massive amount of jobs to support the infrastructure that is coming into these areas. We're kind of the opinion we need to start building that now. We need to be developing the programs. We need to be adding to the sheer number of people in this area. And as I mentioned, that's going to be very difficult. And part of that is because there's been a period in California where the emphasis was so strongly on four-year education. We maybe didn't bring as many people into the trades as we could have at certain points. And so if you've had any services done in your house, you probably noticed that a lot of the technicians are either over 50 or under 25. And so we have a deficit to make up. And so the school has really kind of positioned itself in a place to really land in that sweet spot of providing a living wage to people who are coming into an industry and looking to support a family. If we could go to the next slide, please. So one of that next slide, yeah. One of the things, of course, that always comes up in this conversation, and as a graduate of the University of Pacific and a person who has my master's, I certainly know how these go. But one of the things that I like to focus on when we look at these numbers is not necessarily what we're looking at as the debt load of a four-year student or the public out-of-state debt load or the public in-state debt load. I'm more interested in how millennials and specific Gen Z people view this. We know that there is like a very large portion of the population coming out of high school, also repurposing at junior colleges, retooling at schools like mine, who are very, very suspicious of whether or not a four-year education is actually going to provide them the guarantee that their parents thought it would. We also know that they're very suspicious of the debt load that may come on because they see their parents struggling with it and they hear it in the news. And you have an increasing rate of statistics, especially since the pandemic, where you're seeing 52% of college graduates have been taking jobs that didn't require a bachelor's degree because they can't find jobs and they can't find placement. You look at another 35% of people with bachelor's degrees that are taking jobs in degrees that require a bachelor's, but not the bachelor's that they got. So you have a lot of people feeling like college may or may not be the specific answer for them. They're not trusting in that specific outcome. We're seeing more and more students, as I'm sure you all are, that feel more stressed out by the perception of debt. They feel behind. They feel like it's going to be more difficult for them to ascertain the American dream. And every single one of our students, regardless of age, really tells us they want it now, they want it faster, and they want to be in charge. They really don't want to work for someone else, and they really don't want to work for someone else for $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. So, you know, we've gone through phases from everything from quitting to employer and employee work-life balance. We're seeing a constant disconnect. And of course, You know, in the news in the last year or so, we've redefined that into what you would consider the tool belt generation. So we're looking at these students who are coming directly out of high school. They're looking at the trades with a new, fresh set of eyes. And they're identifying these opportunities. And I think that Stanislaus, specifically Modesto, has just an enormous opportunity because we are bringing in, both in this county and in this area, just so much new construction. We've got a new 500 house construction here planned in town. We've got new Amazon buildings and stuff, and all of those buildings, all of those residences are going to need to be maintained and serviced. And a very stable way for someone to make an income. Next slide, please.
And Mr. Figure, we're right about the 8-minute mark right now.
Perfect. I'm going to wrap this up. So DeHart Technical School, specifically, we're a private post-secondary school that is ETPL certified through the state of California. We have a national accreditation. We do, of course, offer the federal financial aid, but probably one of the things I'm most proud of is we do it with exceptionally low graduate debt. Majority of our students are coming out of the program with less than $7,000 in total debt for completing it and making jobs that are falling within that mean. So we know that our students are going to be made up of very many different components. In fact, 40% of our students are over 35 years of age. An additional 25% of our students are 25 or older and are coming in for their first retooling and are looking for a specific career. They know that trucking is moving towards automation and it makes them money now, but they're concerned about that. And so they want to be able to own their own business. And if nothing else, they want more flexibility and better pay. So next slide, please. We are doing everything we can to kind of get out and, if nothing else, let students know what the opportunities are. I think a lot of times there's misconceptions, particularly about HVAC tech. If we think about that person in your head, we probably imagine that person who drives to your house and shows up. And it's made it less appealing for women. It's made it less appealing for people in disenfranchised communities. And it's unfortunate because there are a lot of opportunities in residential, commercial, and industrial spaces where craftsmen can come in and really make a lot of money. So we do a lot of outreach with our partners. We take in students from a number of different groups in the local community and surrounding counties, as you can see there at the bottom. Next slide, please. And we do as much as we can to get out for outreach. As part of the, as I mentioned, I went to University Pacific. I have a strong belief, and it's kind of seconded by the owner here at DeHart in getting out in the community and kind of making ourselves available. So we do as many college fairs as we can. We prioritize, of course, high schools, but we do a number of middle schools, first come, first serve, and a few elementary schools every year as well. We've started some partnerships, both with Modesto City Schools, and bringing students here on campus where we will host a lab day. We bring about 50 students in and let them basically just do 4 labs, one in plumbing, one in electrical, one in sheet metal, one in brazing, so that they can get some access and exposure to the trades and see if it lights any fires for them. We do a very similar partnership with San Joaquin County as well and Stockton City Schools. So the biggest thing for me is, I really want to be able to bring people to this environment so that they can experience this environment. I think as a result of the pandemic, a lot of students, particularly the younger ones, stopped visiting colleges and they stopped seeing themselves in the places and the things that were available to them out there. So here at DeHart Technical School, we're blessed. We've got the parent company who has a strong industry presence, and we're able to accomplish a very, very high quality of education. And admittedly, it is not for everyone. We are very focused here on what we do, but most of our instructors are interchangeable with the technicians that are working in the field, as is the curriculum, and it's giving students a legitimate chance to get into the industry and get the skills they need to be quite successful upon graduation. And then 2 things that we do that are very unique is placement for life and then student for life. So students who have taken classes here can come in and retake those classes again for free. We have a lot of retooling that happens in our industry, so we've decided to stand behind that. And then, as anyone who's on this panel knows, the placement, the job a student has at the time they graduate isn't the job they want 18 months later or 3 years later or 5 years later. So we've been spent a lot of energy and a lot of time, and a lot of networking to continually develop both alumni presence, alumni services, in order to keep people moving within the trades and moving within the industry so that they have access to better opportunities.
Thank you so much, Damon. And again, I apologize about mispronouncing their last name, but we'll stick with
Everybody
David for
does.
now. Great work. Exciting stuff you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Okay, we are up to our final panelist for this afternoon. It's Philip Land, president of Bay Valley Tech. Phil, we're ready for you if you are.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
We sure can. Thank you.
All right. Damon, by the way, my nephew, Alex Hansen, went through your program and he's employed in the industry today. So
he did. Tell him I said hi, please.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this invitation. And we're so excited to be here and to be doing what we can to help our students in Modesto. If you want to jump on to the next slide. The main thing I wanted to really spend some time on is the opportunity. There's a lot going on right now out there, and in some ways, Modesto has been not participating in this tech economy to the fullest. So I think today, ag jobs make up 2% of our economy. Manufacturing jobs only make up 8% now. What's going on is that since 1978, a lot of the best paying jobs that have been created in this country are knowledge worker jobs and tech jobs. And so today in California, less than 10% of jobs are in tech, but those tech companies are contributing almost 20% to the economy. So one other point that I think is very important to make is that tech jobs tend to create more jobs than other jobs that we create. Tech jobs, tech ecosystems tends to have a higher multiplication impact for any city that's able to develop a tech economy and a tech ecosystem. So this 21 billion, for those of you that haven't heard us talk about this, this comes from a study we did with Opportunity Stanislaus, but it's validated by other ones that we've seen in the Bay Area as well. $150,000 jobs, right? 30-year career of somebody working, that's $4.5 million that they'll pull into Modesto as a tech worker in Modesto. $4.5 million per person. Our first phase goal is to train 1,000 people here in town. That's $4.5 billion in direct salaries. Those 1,000 tech workers are going to create 2,400 overall jobs in the region and contribute 21 billion into our economy here over the next 3 decades. So that's the goal. Bay Valley Tech is a tuition-free code academy, design academy. We teach tech sales, digital marketing, digital design, software development, project management. Next year, we'll start teaching cybersecurity and some of those other related skills such as DevOps as well. At the core of who we are, though, is we're a program that was created by a bunch of tech hiring managers in a way selfishly for tech hiring managers. There's a huge tech worker shortage going on in the country right now. So a lot of companies that are involved in the tech industry and non-tech companies that need tech workers, which I think today's, virtually every industry that we can think of, from healthcare to ag to manufacturing, logistics, et cetera, they're all desperately looking for tech workers. Gallo alone has hired 25 of our students recently. So there's tons of opportunities, and we're looking for ways to help Modesto capture those opportunities a little bit better. So one other point I want to make is that our work here is, would not we would not exist. We would not exist at this scale. We went from training 25 people a year, and now through our various programs, we're working with 1,000 people annually. So none of this would be possible here, being based out of Modesto, without the partnerships that we've built with Stanislaus State through our Career Ready U partnership, through the boot camps, the funded boot camps that we did with you guys, and Ellen and her team, through our amazing partnership with Doris and her team. Rachel helped fund and grow our Code Academy way back when. City of Modesto funding helped launch our Design Academy. So we view ourselves as primarily a complementary program to all of the folks here with us today. So where we really excel, if you want to go on to the next slide. This is something I wanted to make a point about here in just a second, but where we really excel is our connections with employers, because we come from private industry. We come from background working in tech. Personally, I spent a few years at Gallo running the digital marketing team there, worked with some early .coms, and also was on the marketing team at IBM. And so our connections are primarily with employers. And so everything we do is with employers and for the employers. And then, the city, our students, they get to benefit as part of that, right? So to kind of, emphasize the point of why we need tech in Modesto, even though this is not primarily our roots. I grew up on an almond farm, as we call it in Ripon, Ammons, here locally. And, we see how big the industry is. We produce 80% of the world's almonds here. And you look at these industries, these are our top, 5 commodities in California. And they range from, a few billion to $10 billion. If you want to jump on to the next slide. Yep. Here's what one company does in revenues annually over the hill. Just one, right? And you look at NVIDIA, you look at Apple, you look at Facebook, Meta, the revenues that these companies are driving, and therefore the jobs that they're producing are on another scale that is somewhat unimaginable, it feels like, for somebody who grew up in the Central Valley. And so this is our main point. One of our main points is that for our economy to grow, for our economy to do well, we do need to focus on the highest paying jobs in our economy. That we need to at least carve out some of our efforts and resources to try to help our folks land jobs at these companies. Go ahead and go to the next one. Thank you very much. What's really interesting is that, it's actually getting easier and easier for us to attract employers and to create jobs here locally. Our initial plan was that since most tech companies today some of the most profitable ones are software related companies, they really just need talent. They just need people with skills to grow. They can go into any area where there's a critical mass of talent. When I first started in tech, it was all about semiconductor fab plants. And so you had to get a company to agree to come to your area. Do you have enough water? Do you have this and that? And, $3 billion to fire up a new chip plant to create jobs. We no longer need to do that. All we really need to do is to train people with the skills that companies want. Our initial plan when we started operating in Modesto a few years ago was that we would train people, companies would hire, they'd set up branch offices and begin to hire more. With COVID, what's happened is that tons of companies are very comfortable hiring the skill sets that we train on these tech workers 100% remote. So we're having students landing jobs in Sunnyvale, starting off at $120,000 a year with no college degrees and working their way up. Even local jobs are paying $85,000 to start. And then, many of them are even allowing them to work a few days from home to save on traffic and pollution and all that. So it feels to us like it's getting easier and easier to create these tech jobs for our region, and all the barriers that we thought were going to be here to make this happen, they're starting to, dissipate over time. And so what we're seeing now is an acceleration of, the tech jobs being created in our area. Go ahead and go to the next slide.
And Mr. Land, we're just about coming up on the 10-minute mark too, just let you know.
Oh, okay. So let me just fly through the rest of these slides. Here are pictures of our real alumni. Here are employers who have been hiring our students. Many of them you guys will recommend or will recognize, and go ahead and go to the next one. So, different parts of our program, from getting people introduced to tech, to training, to paid internships. One very important aspect of our program is volunteering. Since our program's free, all of our students are required to volunteer. So they, wherever we operate, they begin to have a good impact on the economy, but volunteering helps them become more employable as well. So it's a dual purpose. Go ahead and go to the next one. Go ahead and you can skip that slide. Our program's just flexible. Who we serve, more than half of our students come from households that make less than $40,000. So folks that land jobs through this program, it's really a game changer for them. Go ahead and go to the next one. So this is results of, if you go back to the last slide, there, our partnership with Workforce Development, Doris' team, and State of California, the Californians for All program. These next few slides are just some of the students who've gone through the program that are working in industry now, contributing to our local economy here in Modesto. This is Daywood, working for Tyler Technologies, one of the largest providers of software to the federal government. They've signed a 50,000 square foot lease, 10-year lease, a few blocks down from our old office there in downtown Modesto. Laura, Melinda, and Raul were students that went through a program that are working, contributing to the local economy now. Go ahead. Here's some more. Bernadette was working at Gallows, now doing PLC programming. Go ahead and go to the next one. Next one. So you guys can see that these are real students who have gone through the program. Huge thanks to Doris and her team for partnering with us, but we're starting to see some good results, and we're starting to see these students contribute to our economy here. So one thing that's also important about our program is we're not just a training program, we're a community. So, it's important for us to support the community, to build the community. At this point, we have thousands more applicants trying to get into the program than we have capacity for. The community is helpful to mentor those, even the ones that can't make it, and we can still help them in some ways here and there, and the community is very important for that. And so we also do a lot to support other organizations that are trying to help our community as well, as you can see in these next few slides. So you can keep going. I think you can just go through the rest of this. These are partnerships, our coalition in the area, partnership with Salvation Army, our amazing, awesome sponsors, Google Developers group, a group that we sponsor. We helped launch the Ag Tech Summit here with MJC not too long ago in Opportunity Stanislaus. And I think you can skip all the way to the end now. All right. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you so much, Phil. And that's exciting stuff. It really is a game changer for many of your participants. We can see that. So that's great way to wrap up our panel presentations this afternoon. I want to again thank all of you for just excellent very interesting presentations and exactly the types of material that we hope to cover to set up our discussion. What we'd like to do now is we've got about a half hour left in our meeting time. We've got 3 general discussions, topics for discussion, roughly 10 minutes each. And I know that's a fairly short amount of time to talk about a topic that we're also passionate about, and we've got so much expertise on this call. It's almost overwhelming. But we'll do that about 10 minutes each. I will remain on the Zoom as long as anyone would like. I do want to conclude the official meeting at 5 as we committed to, but if there are people that would like to continue talking after that, we'll keep that on. That will be recorded and part of the record for the meeting. We're going to talk about 3 topics. Generally, we're going to talk about assets and opportunities as one. The second topic will be challenges you see within the service delivery system within Modesto and Stanislaus County for workforce development. And then the third is helping us to think about specific ways that the city can be a partner in all of this and to better connect with these tremendous resources that we've heard about today. For discussion topic 1, and in a minute, I'm just going to open it up for discussion. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. We'll certainly would welcome follow-up comments from any of our panelists and anyone else in the audience that has an interest in these topics. Welcome your comments as well. If you can use the hand raise, or if you'd prefer to type notes in the chat, we can pick up comments that way as well. First topic is assets and opportunities for workforce development. And we've certainly covered a lot of this ground in these excellent presentations, and I don't want to repeat that necessarily now, but maybe if we just kind of collectively think back about what we've heard and what other things you may have known about that we didn't get a chance to talk about during our presentations today, what would you say are the most important assets that Modesto and Stanislaus County have, perhaps things that are unique to Modesto, and things that might not be well known to the broader community that might benefit from just messaging about these tremendous resources in the county. So at this point, I'll open it up for about 10 minutes for talking about assets and things that are unique specifically to Modesto and Stanislaus. And you'll need to unmute yourself if you'd like to speak. Not seeing any raised hands. Maybe I'll phrase the question this way. We heard a lot of great information today about programs. Was there anything here that surprised anyone? Something especially important or powerful that you didn't know existed in the community or the region that you're excited to learn about today?
I think it was exciting to see just how many initiatives Rachel has going on at the Modesto City schools level. I knew and obviously have worked with her quite a bit on the CTE level, but it looks like they're doing far more than really what I was aware of. And I would be very interested to find out what the outcomes were specifically in this area in general, in comparison to some of the areas I've recruited in and worked in over the years. We have a lot less tracking mechanisms, and I wish we knew a little bit more about what those were leading to specifically, especially industries, trades, four-year education, how students were pursuing those, what those were leading to.
Thank you, Damon. Rachel, did you want to follow up with some summary of outcomes that might be of interest to the group?
So one of the data once they leave high school is very hard to track. So we do have a survey that we send out to students to see if they've continued in the area that they studied while they were in high school. And we typically, I mean, out of those 8,000 students, we typically get about 200 responses is all. And so, trying to figure out how do we track students beyond high school. It's typically the relationships that they've had with those teachers, and it's anecdotal in nature. Unfortunately, we don't have a system in the state where we can track them once they leave our K-12 system. Outcomes as far as the programs and the internships that our students participate in, I can tell you that our CNA, we had a CNA program in partnership with MJC this summer, and I believe it was like 95% all passed the coursework. In our CNA programs at Davis High School, it's about 90 to 95% that get their certifications at the end. So we can track some of those items. Cosmetology, it's usually about 85% of those students pass their state boards. And then, then we have the students that go with you. And I don't really know how many of them continue with DeHart after we sponsor them into your program. So you're right. We need to start tracking more students so that we can identify the outcomes. Of course, I have grading outcomes, college and career preparedness outcomes based on our state demographics and our state accountability system for education, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot in the sense of where do those students end up. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. And would you say that there is a need, and we can talk more about this when we get into the possible ideas for action, but some sort of a coordinated tracking system that maybe the school district isn't technically in a position to implement, but could do that through a partnership or through some kind of a consortium?
I think that would be fantastic. Especially because it would inform us of what we're doing well and maybe what we need to do better as far as retention or guiding students into programs that align with what they've studied. And it is something that we're not able to do because our students have specific numbers that are identified by the state, and then once they graduate, those numbers go away and we don't have that same access. So especially, I think it would be especially interesting if we could focus just on our county in general, or even the city of Modesto, to really find out where they go and what they do.
Great ideas. Thank you. If anyone else would like to speak about assets or opportunities briefly, please feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself and speak as you'd like. And otherwise, we're going to move on to the next topic shortly.
I have a question or comment.
Go ahead, Phil. Thank you.
Yeah, Rachel and Brian, thank you very much for sharing about the assets and the resources that you guys have. I was not aware that you guys are doing so much, and so that's great, because with so many folks trying to get into our program that we don't have capacity for, I think it would be there's an opportunity for us to steer some of those folks towards your programs, if you would like us to do that. The other related thing is, I was a little bit surprised at how much overlap there was in what everybody on the panel here is doing. And I wonder if there's an opportunity here in Modesto to maybe coordinate a little more or a little bit better, or more on a regular basis, so everybody with resources is better informed about what else is going on and what the potential opportunities to collaborate on behalf of the community are.
Great idea. Thank you. Okay, next I'd like to think for a minute about challenges, and we don't need to address these questions one by one, but just food for thought. Considering the array of public and private partner organizations supporting workforce development, many of which we've heard from today, and there are potentially others out there that were not part of the panel. But considering that diverse network, would you say that there are currently any significant gaps in service delivery in Stanislaus County, and something that someone might be covering, but collectively it's not necessarily addressed at the level it could be? I guess another way you could think about that, are there any notable weaknesses in the system compared to other counties that any of you might be familiar with? And then thinking ahead from where we are now, and some of you touched on this topic in your presentations, but just based on broader socioeconomic trends, do you anticipate any new stresses or demands on the system in the next 5 to 10 years beyond what you're seeing now? Any
Hey,
comments on those
Roger.
topics?
Roger, real quick, one of our
Yes.
employment partners just texted me and they said they're waiting to be let into this call, by the way.
Okay. And I don't see anyone in the waiting room currently. We've been trying to let them in as they come, but maybe ask them to try again. I apologize for that.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Just highlighting bullet point 3 here and going back to Phil's statements earlier, we need to be focusing on a better class of job and a better class of employment. I'm not specifically trying to highlight my sector here. I just think we need to identify what those are. Some of the gold standard things that we have in this area right now might be looked at as like trucking, because people can make in excess of $100,000 a year. But we know that the trucking industry is trying to go completely autonomous by 2030. They're piloting this in Texas and other states. So it's some of the things that we're currently looking at as a boon for our economy are not going to be in the next 5 or 10 years.
Thank you, Damon. Any other ideas on things that might currently be gaps in workforce development, service delivery in Modesto or Stanislaus County? Things that might benefit from some supplemental programs or resources?
One of the things that I really appreciated that Aubrey talked about was the AI and bringing that into the community. When we talked about the number of businesses and the number of business amount of employees, we know that in Modesto there are smaller businesses in our community, and they don't have the capacity or the ability as easily to bring different technical abilities into their program. So I think there's a way that we can talk about how do we as organizations or as a community help bring some of those new technology things into some of these smaller businesses and make it available to them.
Great ideas. Thank you, Doris.
I have a comment.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, Stacy Kohlmeyer Johnson, Executive Director of the Manufacturers Council of the Central Valley. Sorry for the black screen. I'm a little under the weather this afternoon. The first slide of questions that you posed, honestly, every time I am exposed to the breadth of resources in this region, I'm a little bit surprised and shocked and in awe, and constantly wondering why I haven't heard about most of these things before, which is not meant to be criticism. I think there's a tremendous task in communicating all of these resources. And you know, I think to a point that was made earlier, explaining how they support each other, they build on each other, how they're maybe a little bit different or distinct. And I think there's some work to be done in understanding the unserved community, those people that are constantly on a wait list or not able to get into a class. That's been referenced here too. But I do think to this question, there is a gap. There's a lot of programs meant to provide internships and apprenticeships into organizations like those that I work with. And there's a difficulty in manufacturers in particular, or that's what I know, taking advantage of those programs. And I think maybe better understanding why they're not, I don't have the answer today, I wish I did, but why they're not taking advantage of those programs when, you know, Doris has explained her opportunities to me, and man, they look so appealing. But there are barriers there, and to better understand them and to see what could be brought forth to help overcome them. And I hate to say this, but Phil's reference to volunteerism might actually be one way to do that. So I'll just leave that there and say, thanks for pulling all these valuable resources together today.
Thank you, Stacy.
And Roger, I'll just mention, we got a note from Brad Franca in chat, if anybody wants to refer to that from Go Educate, and they're looking to kind of bridge economic development and workforce development groups together. And he's listed his contact information there, and refer anybody maybe to the chat if they want to take a look at that. And also mention too that a number of the presenters from the chat have in the chat today have listed their contact information for anybody that's looking to connect and network, and if refer to, you can look at the chat there, and their contact information is there as well.
Great, thank you, Alan. Yeah, it's we hope that this type of a meeting will be a starting point for enhanced collaboration among, and we know and we've heard it in your presentations today that you all work closely with each other already, but if there are others in the community that would like to connect with this type of a consortium, that would be in our mind, a good outcome for this type of a meeting as a starting point. Okay, I'd like to go into our final discussion topic, which is related to the city's specific roles within the economic development strategic plan that the city's preparing, and really looking at how the city can better connect those two realms, economic development and workforce development, which we know has been just nationally a challenge, but I think an increasing recognition, especially I'd say over the last 20 years, of within the economic development world, of the critical importance of workforce and workforce development in a region's or a city's competitiveness for business development ties right back to workforce development. And so we're interested today to think about specific actions the city might pursue through its EDSP that would enhance the effectiveness of workforce development programming in Modesto. We're very clear that the city is not in the business of being a workforce development trainer or service provider itself, but that it might have a role in sort of a coordination capacity that could address the type of issue that, for example, Stacy just mentioned about the opportunity to bring greater awareness of the broader community and the public about these tremendous programs and resources, so that they can have an even greater impact in the community. So, interested in hearing about any specific gaps that the city might help to address. We talked maybe about the idea of some support in putting together tracking of outcomes. For example, that the school district is not necessarily authorized or mandated to do in-house, but could do through a coordination effort. There are other ways that the city could serve in a coordination capacity among partners. And a topic that we often hear about when we're talking about workforce development in the context of local economies is that there's often a less than optimal information flow between service and training providers and the private sector employment community. And I don't know if that's the case here or not. You can comment on that, but that's something that sometimes cities can have a role in being a conduit of information about promoting programs, and also helping employers to provide input or provide a mechanism for communicating with the training resources to create a better match between those resources and the evolving needs of the employers. So I think I've said enough. Does anyone have any comments on ideas for specific things that the city might help to bring an enhanced sense of coordination of workforce development resources within the city of Modesto?
Yeah, Roger, I think there are a few areas that, you know, the city could certainly work to best support the community um, in terms of skills development. You know, naturally, I think if um, if you survey the community, there is a substantial skills mismatch. I think you have organizations in the region that could certainly partner with the city that could help act as a center for learning where uh, a lot of residents or individuals could gain the necessary skills to be successful in many of these jobs. I think Philip outlined a lot of the tech opportunities that exist in the region, and naturally, I outlined some of the things earlier, and Damon mentioned some great opportunities as well as Brian. And so the centers of learning, I think, could certainly partner with the city of Modesto to address some of the skills mismatch. Other areas include green jobs. I think if the city is much more intentional around developing green jobs to focus more intentionally on sustainability in the region. Uh, Being in the Central Valley for 35 years, I've had the pleasure of communicating and connecting with a lot of different populations, and there's also some challenges with respect to digital literacy. And so I think there's a lot that can be done to support the community in that regard, and the city could certainly play a central role in providing funding that could help provide literacy programs for the community as well. And just in general, providing opportunities for underserved and marginalized populations. I think that, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of folks that aren't really aware of the volume of resources that are available in the area. And certainly connecting with these communities can really go a long way in providing and upskilling our folks in our region and providing much needed training opportunities and providing many low-income populations with the leg up that they may not otherwise have an opportunity to experience. And so I think there's a lot that can be done there, and naturally, universities and community colleges and organizations like Bay Valley Tech and others have been around for quite some time and are doing some of that lifting and really being available to support communities. Also, Rochelle's or Modesto Schools has been fantastic as well. But I think the city can play a major part in that, and having connected with the city of Modesto in the past, I know that they would certainly be willing if they were, aware that there were a lot of partners who were more than willing to take part.
Thank you so much. Excellent ideas.
Roger, I'm just going to jump in before I know we have a couple of Brad and Mary with the hands up.
Yes.
Comment from Kathy Martinez in the chat, and she's in the tech sector. She works for a software development company, and she's actually worked with some software developers from Bay Valley Tech as well. She has specifically had a question if there's any further plans to kind of grow the tech talent base locally in the area, as well as any kind of incentives for companies and employers to operate in Modesto and to kind of help employ that tech talent. So I think specifically a question really focused on the tech sector, and if there are any plans in place to particularly focus.
Yes, so thank you for that comment. And I can say on behalf of the city, as far as this economic development program, that would be a definite focus of this strategy, is to look at industry-based opportunities for growth of tech jobs, either through business attraction or entrepreneurial development. And I know that a number of our panelists today have commented on things that underscore the value of technical training for different types of industries. And so I think a major focus of this discussion today is how to connect those resources and those opportunities. I also wanted to mention, and it's been mentioned by Dr. Priest and others today, initiatives such as Beam Circular that really are, in our mind, a specific competitive opportunity that Modesto has within the larger Central Valley economy to promote the types of tech jobs that we think are potentially very viable here. So great question, and because of time, I wanted to acknowledge a couple of people who have their hands up. We'll start with Brad Franca. If you'd like to go ahead and unmute yourself and we'll welcome your comments, Brad.
Yeah, thanks. I just first off want to say, hey, thank you to all of you that are, putting in great work out there. I'm a former teacher, Edison High School in South Stockton, and after 20 years, I'm moving into a company that's really trying to become a bridge for all of y'all. Actually, we want to have that connections to, the early talent, access to reaching out to those students who are in the CTE classes that are doing great work and being able to match them up with businesses, with some of your organizations, things that are really kind of making those connections to kind of bring those students who maybe, they're not sure what they want to do, but now they've got a lot of options. So Go Educate is our company. We were doing a lot of work in Sacramento right now, particularly with the Roseville Chamber of Commerce, and we've got some cool things going on. So I'd love to talk to any of you guys about what we can possibly do to help, kind of bring everybody into more of a community hub where you have basically a lot of the information and access to the different programs that you guys are providing so that the students really have complete knowledge of what's going on around them, and especially the jobs that are needed here in our valley. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there, and my email's in the chat. So would love to see if there's some ways we could partner up and really help out to make the valley grow. So just wanted to put that out there for y'all.
Great, thank you very much, Brad. And we will definitely use this process as a way to facilitate those types of connections, because I know that they're valuable to each of you, but they're also very valuable to the city as far as what it hopes to accomplish. Let's go to Mary Watts. If you'd like to unmute yourself, we'd love to hear what you have to say, Mary.
Okay, perfect. So hi, my name is Mary, as the Regional Director of Employer Engagement, supporting Modesto Junior College, Merced College, Delta College, and Columbia College. And so I just wanted to give a plug for, in terms of really building up the workforce. I think there's such a great opportunity with our local students to partner with the students and set up whether internships, flexible hour positions. I think that's really a great opportunity for a lot of local businesses to identify future great people before we move away and leave us forever into area, Sacramento, somewhere else. I'm going to put my contact details in the chat if you want so connecting any of the 4 colleges I serve. I also work closely with the high schools in the area.
Roger, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, I think I got. Sorry about that. I'll just put my stuff in the chat, but sorry, I got cut off.
I apologize for that. But thank you for your comments, Mary, and we'd definitely like to get your contact information in the chat. I've got back on the screen. I hope everyone can see that now. The slide with the QR code for the city's notification list. If you got an email from the city or otherwise got notified by the city about this forum today, you're already on our list. But just to be safe, anyone who's not sure how you found out about this, or if you got the email or invite forwarded to you from someone else, would love to have you get listed here. This will be a way that we can continue to promote connections and networking. And we'll also would like to share with you a meeting summary after this meeting, as well as copies of notes and other things that were in the chat that if you didn't have a chance to copy those down. So I want to thank you. We're at the end of our allotted time. It's been just a packed couple of hours in terms of the quality and impressiveness of the information we've heard from everyone on the panel, as well as others of you who have participated. I know on behalf of the city that we are tremendously grateful for the commitment of our panelists, not only to be here and put together these high quality presentations today, but we know that just by virtue of the fact that you were invited to these meetings, that you are a committed partner of the city, and the city wants to acknowledge just the critical role that you play in the community, and was so enlightening for us today to find out from our perspective as the city's consultant, to find out more about the excellent work that's going on, the connections that are already there. And we look forward to working with each of you in the coming months as we put this plan together to figure out ways, as we've mentioned, that the city can be a more effective partner in this process and really help to connect some of the dots in ways that would collectively move these opportunities forward. Welcome any final questions or comments before we sign off, but I want to thank everyone for your time. Please stay engaged. We will keep you on our notification list. And in fact, if you've enjoyed this meeting, we're going to have another forum next Wednesday, August 14, on entrepreneurial development. And I know that there's obviously a tremendous, a great amount of overlap between workforce development and entrepreneurial development, and the opportunities that they each support. So I'm sure there would be a high level of interest among everyone who's on this call today to be part of that as well. And if you haven't for some reason gotten the notification about that other forum, you can find it on the city's website or reach out to us, and we'll be glad to get you a invite